You know, the reason I brought in the politics is because your fellow Stephanian, Congress MP, Shashi Tharoor, with whom you had a bit of a Twitter exchange, said, and I quote him now, this diplomatic triumph makes it all the more a pity that the government does not bring the same attitude of conciliation and cooperation to bear in its domestic dealings. The failure to invite the leader of the opposition, indeed any opposition MP, to any of the G20 events, receptions, dinners, underscores my point. No other democracy would snub its parliamentary colleagues on a global stage like this. A pity that the spirit of accommodation that prevailed at G20 is absent within Indian politics. How do you respond to what Shashi Tharoor has to say on this criticism?
No, I have the greatest regard and respect for Shashi Tharoor, but I saw at the dinner, I saw all the opposition chief ministers were there. Mr. Stalin was there, Mr. Nitish Kumar was there, the Jharkhand chief minister was there. Everyone was there from opposition side. I mean, there were many, many chief ministers. They are running the states. They came and met all the top leaders of the world. They were, I met them personally there. So I don't think that would be a correct criticism of the government on this.
Okay, but some of the Congress chief ministers did not attend. Leader of opposition was not invited. You're saying there was not a conscious decision in any way at any stage to keep anyone out. Am I correct?
I don't think there was any intention of that nature by the government, and I don't want to get caught up in these issues at all.
Okay, let's look at the larger picture once again. There's now talk, Mr. Kant, of a virtual summit in November before India's presidency ends. What is this virtual summit going to be about? What is the need, you believe, for a virtual summit now that the declaration is in place and Brazil is all set to take over the presidency of the G20?
So Brazil takes over on the 1st of December. We had advanced our presidency, but our presidency remains till the 1st of December, till the 30th of November, really. We have a lot of time. That is the entire September, October, November, till end November. So what the Prime Minister has desired is that on the New Delhi Leaders Declaration, and quite often happens that G20 statements really remain on paper. He wants us to drive them in terms of execution with different countries, different states, their number of India-related issues, drive them to implementation, and then have a virtual summit to review it, to review the action taken. And that, to my mind, would be the right thing to do. We have 2.5 months, and plenty of things need to be done during the course of our presidency. So we'll take them forward.
So what you're saying in a way is that this virtual summit in November will be a final act, a kind of review of what we've achieved, the hits and the misses. Is that the purpose, sole purpose then of having another virtual summit in November?
That's right. To review the outcomes of the document, as well as many other things which we'd like to cover, which the leaders would like to talk about. So this is an occasion for leaders to interact. You know, there's the good thing about the new Leaders Summit is not merely the document being achieved with full 100% consensus on all issues, but the meeting and the talking to each other is that connection is very important amongst global leaders. And I think when they do a virtual summit again in end of November, we'll have to do a lot of spade work, a lot of homework. We'll do that. And to my mind, that will be a very good initiative.
You know, one issue which needs clarification is the amount of money that you've spent on the G20. Some are suggesting we've spent 6 times the amount that countries like Germany spent on the summit. We've spent way more than what Indonesia spent on last year's Bali summit. Is that true? Figures on the net suggest that more than 4,000 crores, could even go up to 10,000, have actually been spent. The hoardings that we see all across the country, one report said just from the Delhi airport to the US President's Hotel, there were over 920 G20 ads, 25% of them featuring the Prime Minister. Can you tell us how much was actually spent? Do we have a real number of how much was spent on the G20?
Rajiv, let me tell you that don't go by fake news. You know, this is absolutely nonsensical news that we've spent 4,332 crore. Absolutely incorrect, improper, fake news. And I would request you in particular not to go by this kind of fake news. There was a budget approved, which was far lesser, and we've spent less than the budget, than the approved budget by the government. So the budget approved is, the expenditure is far less than even the budget approved. So I would suggest that you just wait for the expenditure to be cross-corrected, everything, and these figures will be there in the public domain. So the approved budget is there, and we have spent even much lesser than that. And I would request you not to get carried away by some incorrect and improper tweet by someone.
So I'm not getting carried away. I'm asking for clarification. Do you have a rough estimate, then a ballpark figure, sir, of how much the G20 summit has cost?
That is still being compiled. The event has just concluded yesterday. It is being compiled by our logistic division. It's everybody will get to know what is the expenditure. There's an approval, and the expenditure is less than the approval, actually.
Okay. We'll keep a track of the expenditure, but you mentioned in one of your statements post the summit that this is a victory for Team India. You worked with a team of very fine young IFS officers. For you personally, what has been the biggest learning over the last year? You've been a bureaucrat for decades. What's the new learning you had as the G20 Sherpa?
That you have to be professionally very well prepared. You know, the negotiators from across the world are very tough. They know strategically what they want to achieve. They're very professional. And India needs to build up a team of very strong professionals. I think in our negotiations, we've done some very, very tough negotiations. This has been an incredibly tough negotiation spreading over weeks and weeks and weeks and months. And India needs to have continuity in its negotiators over a long period of time with full professional expertise. That'll make you win for the country. I think what has won this year is that we had a team of very top-class, good drafting team. We had a very good top-class negotiators and some really outstanding young officers who worked with us to deliver this presidency for India.
You know, one final question, Mr. Kant. You said that this is, you told me a year ago that this was going to be your last big hurrah. I recall you saying something like this in an interview you gave me, that, this is it, and then you're going to quit the government. Your last big project, in a sense, with the government. Now there is some buzz that next general election, a lot of retired IFS officers could contest the election. We asked Harsh Shringla, the G20 coordinator, former foreign secretary, yesterday whether he would contest from Darjeeling. He didn't rule it out. Are you also someone who might be considering moving from being a bureaucrat who's worn various hats to possibly now contesting elections or entering political life, Mr. Kant?
Rajiv, I have no such political ambition. I just want to read and write, and I prefer to write and do some intellectual work. So I'll do that. I just want to relax and take life easy. I worked for a very long time in government, and I now like to chill out a little bit.
So how does Amitabh Kant chill out? Are you going to play more rounds of golf? Are we going to see a book on the G20 year? Are you going to go back to your original home state of Kerala, where you were a bureaucrat with incredible with the Kerala tourism campaign, play golf somewhere or discover maybe a course in Kerala, or just sit by the beach?
No, I of course do a lot of physical exercise, and I play golf and I play several games, but I do that as a daily part of my daily existence. But I would prefer to read and write, and I've written several books, and I'd prefer to write another book on my own experiences of G20 rather than doing anything else. But I'm not cut out for politics.
Okay, you're not cut out for politics, but you made an emphatic statement here. But you are cut out for diplomacy, and you've done a rather remarkable job over the last year putting it all together. Thank you so much, Amitabh Kant, for joining us here on as we look back at the G20 Summit.